Good morning, Illini. I'm Matt Schrock, your host here for Healthy Illini Podcast. We're glad you're with us. Welcome back. It is into the middle of November already, and we're starting to look at the holiday season coming, the fall break and the winter break, which everyone looks forward to on the campus. But it also means we're looking at the spring semester already and some things, and people are starting to look at what's going to happen after this year with graduating or going to internships or just anything like that. And so we wanted to have a conversation today, a little bit about your future and how you kind of present yourself looking for that future. So I'm excited for the chat we're going to have. I'm joined today by Jadari Renee. Jadari is with the Career Center here at the University of Illinois. He is the Assistant Director of Employer Relations and Professional Connections. He is also a business owner outside of that with Empowerment Firm, and that's important because I want to talk about that in a minute. I want to make that distinction. But Jadari, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Matt. I'm really excited.
So, when we think of college, oftentimes, or university or anything like that, we think of it as a place to get your education in a field. And then after you're done there, you go and get the job in that field. And that's all there is to it. It's just kind of this, A then B, pretty simple thing. But we know that graduating and having a job waiting for you is becoming less common. Or less certain, I should say, for a lot of students. And so we know job markets are becoming more competitive and it can be difficult to break into. So I wanted to have you come in today because as part of the Career Center, there are things that you're involved in that will help students in that area. And when just having a degree is not enough in some cases. Exactly. And so because we live in a digital age that is only becoming more and more digital, we're not going backwards. we're diving into that even farther. How you present yourself online is just as important.
Oh,
so that's
100%.
Really the conversation we wanted to have today, and we're gonna talk pretty focused on LinkedIn as one of those resources, but it's not the only resource. So just before we get into the LinkedIn conversation, just in general, would you talk a little bit about what it means to market and brand yourself, and then how that relates to LinkedIn for college students?
Well, Matt, let me tell you, professional branding in a nutshell has so many expenditures. People think when you're going into the professional setting, you got to become an influencer, a leader, a subordinate in some ways of capacity. But each and every person has their own leadership trait or brand. So a professional brand, how I personally define it, but also in professional definition, is the outcome of the audience that you are heading to. Especially when you're developing like your services, developing your product, or reaching out to clienteles, providing different problems and solving different solutions. And so when you think about your professional brand, you kind of realize that you are working with a variety of different people, partners, stakeholders, and you're kind of finding ways to communicate what the idea or the innovation you're trying to push, or taking the stance that you're looking for. This could be for someone who's super big in numbers and big in data, want to build out new Tesla robots. You could take a stance regardless of where you're at. And I think as you continue furthering that stance, your brand kind of develops. It becomes a product of what you are doing throughout your day-to-day, and especially in the profession you're going into.
Well, and this is kind of why, one of the reasons I mentioned that you are a business owner, because when people think of marketing yourself, they think of directly tying to I'm an entrepreneur who's creating something, but it's not just that. All right, yeah. Anybody who goes into any job for any interview, you are marketing yourself and you're presenting yourself. And so I wanted to ask, from the things that you know in your experience as far as being a business owner, how that relates to someone who is working as a part of a corporation or a part of and what ideas are common. What things that people often think of entrepreneurs are actually essential for any worker who goes into any position. What's the mentality behind some of those kinds of things?
Well, I got a pretty cool quote from Sakant, who is like a management consultant across the United States, and he states that professionalism is a universal language. Right. And so when you're thinking about like how you are a pros aren't people that you see on TV playing basketball and football here. Pros aren't the same influencers you see that are making millions off their product. Right. Being a pro is kind of following your standards, what you were set up, right? Keeping yourself accountable with especially the services product, being able to adapt into a market that's ever changing, ever growing, making sure your appearance is not only physically, because you can look nice, don't get it wrong, but it's also the optics, your actions really plays a big deal, right? Towards it. And lastly, thinking about the attitude you have of within your stance, or the attitude you have within the environment you're in. It's defined as the 4 A's, right? 4 A's of professionalism, going into where you're going to as a pro. And for anyone who's like feeling, oh, I need to start my own thing, I'm great. I'm happy you want to be a self-venture. If anything, I love my self-starters to start building that brand. But it all starts with your concept, your stance, your idea, what you're consistently passionate about. And then following those standards, you can start building gradually, especially the communities you outreach, right? As I stated earlier, your professional brand is that outcome or the view of the audience that you attach yourself, right? And it becomes that outcome you're going for. So my best advice is start with something that you're extremely passionate about right now. What is something that you're really good at or within that interest and how you feel comfortable building in? And at first, it might be silly at first on what it is. It could be your collection. It could be your in-depth analysis on research and understanding how corn grows, to your collection of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I do not care. I just know for a fact you have a stance, and you could 100% build out your portfolio and wow a variety of people across your community.
So let's talk about that building that portfolio. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it in the context of LinkedIn for a moment.
Okay.
First, if you would share a little bit, because LinkedIn is a thing that I think a lot of people are aware of, but really don't know much about. They don't know really how to use it. They don't know really what its advantages are or anything. And one of the things that you mentioned in the prep work was the importance of establishing a profile from head to toe.
Yeah.
So in the context of what you just talked about, taking your stance, about the 4 A's, giving all this aspect that's more of the theory behind it, with LinkedIn specifically, what are ways for students to take those concepts and put them into a practical, tangible space, and what's the advantage of doing those things?
So first, you got to think LinkedIn is a professional profile. It was developed in the early 90s for the purpose of professionals to kind of put a face to a name to their influences. LinkedIn was giving these professionals an opportunity to showcase, their industry practices, their experiences. Again, like I said, it was simply a connector, a networking opportunity. Now it has evolved where we have literal professional influencers. Imagine that. You got your TikToks, you got your IG influencers. Now LinkedIn's part of the game? Okay, that's insane. That's insane to me, right? But, there is some sense of importance. I think it matters when you're building out your LinkedIn profile. Starting with your name. Very simple, and your headliner on what you classify yourself as a professional. And for all of you, you don't need to have the fancy job titles. Right? You don't need to feel like I need to have senior finance analyst for them to look at me. But also, you don't need to over-glorify. I've been noticing on LinkedIn, you got advancement think leaders. And I find it satirical and funny. But at the same time, I do find that your headliner really stands out for a lot of persons, because those are the first three things that a person will see when you open your profile: your photo, your name, and what's that headliner. And for anyone who starts, it could be simply as, I'm a student at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, right? So having those components kind of plays those pieces. And I think for some other individuals, I think having an established profile could take you a long way.
So with those established profiles, so we got the picture, we got the name, we got the headline. So we're good on that. It makes somebody scroll down a little bit more. What should they see when they scroll down? So what's the next stage? What's the little bit deeper dive into that? Because, you want to catch them from the beginning. You want to get there, but then you got to have some substance underneath that. Otherwise, it's just going to fall by the wayside. You're going to be a name in 100 names, right? So what kind of things, what are the ways to utilize LinkedIn? What are the kind of tips you have to say, hey, this is you're going to hook them here, but this is going to keep them here?
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, when you start up your account, they actually have a skeleton for you immediately. So the first thing you might notice on your LinkedIn profile when you open up is your activities and post feeds, right? And they give you a little bit of data insights. You do not need to worry about that right now. A lot of people feel like they need to see the number increase or see who's been looking at them. Like I said, LinkedIn is doing a little too much at this moment, but you don't need that insight at this moment. When you're starting out your skeleton, I think what's really good is to build your about section. right? It gives you a bit of a summary about who you are, what's your aspirations, and then really the major goal for you. And for others, it could be simple, saying, attending school for a particular degree, and I'm an inspired accountant, I'm an inspired astronaut, I'm an inspired musician looking to spread my knowledge, right, in some way, in some capacity, right? I think a good about section is about a good paragraph. I would say about 5 to 6 sentences. The max on LinkedIn, quote me on this, is 250, 350 words max, but this gives you that opportunity to kind of showcase who you are. Really, like, gives you that limited ability, that ability to kind of display yourself. Once you get your about section, right, that's when it starts asking a little bit about your current experiences. What are you doing right now? Now, when you're building your LinkedIn profile, I encourage all experiences to be put on. I'm talking about your clubs, right? I'm talking about your organizations. I'm even talking about the part-time jobs. Yes, people, McDonald's can be experience. I'm a big believer that all experiences matter. They're relevant. And it's how you tailor those experiences plays a difference from you and the competitor you're going to apply for in the position or the dream job you're going into, right? And so I think it's important to try to put them out there, right? Give a name. Even if it's really hard for you to describe the experiences for yourself, I think it's good to at least display. Luckily, LinkedIn has a database where they have of a lot of positions. You'd be really surprised. They have a lot of positions out there where you put in associate at this school or at this place. They kind of gives you that label, and you could throw it in there as your experiences, right? Like I say, it could go on and how you build out that skeleton.
Well, and that takes me to my next question, actually, because one of the strengths of LinkedIn is networking, is connecting with people. And the more experiences you have to show, the more opportunity you have to catch somebody who has a similar experience, and that little bit of experience is really what's key. So I was going to ask you, how do you network on LinkedIn? Like, what does that mean? How do you leverage that? And you kind of touched on already with experiences, but if somebody, how do you be intentional with that, with networking? How does that work with the site?
Wow. There's so many areas, I would say even pathways to network. I think the first thing to help you expand is the more the merrier on your profile. Okay? Skills. I feel like people underestimate the skill section. I don't want to just hear your technical skills. Tell me your soft skills as well. They love public speakers. They love content writers. They love someone who knows how to work with individuals, to be interpersonal, how to mingle. Like, that's a necessary skill set. And a lot of employers or connectors or think leaders look for these type of skill sets, right? And try to match those, or at least see who's similar to them, because some skills are naturally for them. And you might notice that people might be interested in you a little bit more, or at least know what that position that best fits for you. I think that's the first necessary to make sure your profile is as much established as it can, right? Now, to network intentionally looks really, really different, right? So some areas I think, or that people tend to underestimate, right, is your connections, or sometimes your alumni network that's out there. So when you go into LinkedIn, you make your first profile and you're connected to yourself to a school. Immediately, they're going to give you so many relevant people that you might have known. That's why it's important to put those experiences, because ironically, your best friend that works at Mickey D's with you might be your very first connection ever on LinkedIn, right? And that's great. I think that's awesome. And then you kind of build off from those. One thing I also want to add too is that when you are connecting with others, sometimes connections isn't simply just sending a message. Connections could be you liking a photo here and there, liking a post, liking certain pages or employers, right? That kind of creates a response. It creates an algorithm on LinkedIn to get you connected with other individuals that have the same similar likes, interests, values, right? So it gets you that chance to kind of find ways to develop that connection, or at least intentionally network. One part too, especially for my U of I students here, all schools have an alumni network. Okay, and so this alumni network, when you click on the university profile, gets you across to the variety of alums and current students that have attended this beautiful school. All right, and this gives you a profile of each individual based on major, jobs, where they live, experiences that you could filter on the people you want to connect. And when you hit that connect button, they provide you a note, a 250 count, word count note that gives you character note. There we go. Notes that gives you the opportunity to get an opening message to those connections, right? And trust me, I know stranger danger. I understand. It's sometimes I know that's scary, meeting new people or coming across other people, but that note kind of helps you break that ice a bit. Saying it could be as simple, it could be pretty direct and say, hey, you're working in my dream gig right now. I see you're an Imagineer at Disney. I want to be there. What are some things that you've done, right? Or is there any way I could connect with you and talk to you a lot about that position, right? Or it could be simple as, hey, you are a really cool person. I love those experiences and narratives. And you were in the same major as me 5 years ago. And so I would love to know what are some things that you did at my age and get connected that way. And that note could take you far. Now, let me be honest. I would say for every 100, 200 people you connect, you might get only a handful. I'm going to be honest. It's not, like I said, not a lot of people like to get random connections, but the attention matters. I think though that comment, that note section plays a big deal on bridging that connection that you were looking for this entire time. And I know for a fact that eventually you will get to the place or the people that you want to connect to. One other piece I think also some people tend to underestimate is posting. Posting opens up a lot of fields for you. I think when you are posting about a milestone that you come across or an event that you were a part of, or maybe even an article that you came across that you want to share, that opens a lot of doors. Now, again, I don't think you got to be a professional influencer by day one, but I think giving a lot of the chances for to share your narrative or at least where you're at in your professional endeavors kind of take you a long way, a long, long way.
So you've talked about all the things that you want to be a part of. You want to, put your skills, you want to put your experiences, that first three things, face, name, and the tagline. You're talking about posting all the important things. I know we talked off air a little bit that you don't have to do everything LinkedIn offers. Right. And one of the things, especially for students that are coming out of school, one of the questions is, well, they've got, I can do this for free, or they've also got the next level up. Is that something that you would recommend for students as they go in? Because that's a question, when you're trying to figure out who you are and you're trying to balance your own budget and things like that. What are the areas of LinkedIn that are, we're not going to say they're bad, but that maybe aren't as necessary?
Matt, they're extra. They're extra. I would $26 a month, man, my pockets are screaming. I want to tell you, that's LinkedIn was a accessible platform for everyone. Okay, and I think there are benefits from being part of that premium account, but I think you are at an equal playing field with just having a bone basic account and being able to be active on LinkedIn. I think that's the difference maker. Premium accounts with LinkedIn profiles, what I noticed, the gold package, the gold tier, right? They help support a variety of different audience from, yes, the user, the competitor, the one who's looking for that job, or even our recruiters who are trying to reach out to talent. They claim that they search 3 to 8 times more in regards of the search pool. And to be honest, the more active you are on LinkedIn and the more established your profile, you are just as relevant or equivalent to be part of those search piles without the premium. So I say to any student, because I'm not here today to say, LinkedIn, take that gold platform away from us, okay? I'm going to let them have it. But I would say I want you all to extend as much of your profile as much as possible. Be active. Active for me doesn't mean post every day. Active for me does not mean I need to put a new experience or pick up a new skill, right? If anything, I'm going to encourage the students to go in, look at a couple of posts, look who they have connected to, read a couple of articles, see who's there, like a post here and there, right? And especially when you're looking for internships or new job opportunities or programs or volunteer work, because there are a variety of things that are coming on LinkedIn, go ahead and look and do your search a bit. See what you like. Every time you save, every time you filter, the algorithm picks it up. Now, I could tell you LinkedIn hits me up. It hits me up. It's like, hey, I say you're interested in becoming a campus recruiter, come on up. And we got so many cool positions. LinkedIn will remind you. Trust me, it will. And so don't feel like to rush. And what's even great, LinkedIn has many, many different resources like skill courses, LinkedIn classes that do have some charges and some that are actually completely free. But I would love for students to take the time to explore the extensive use of LinkedIn as much as they can before raising that wallet.
And, as we're talking about this is great information here, and people are listening to it and they're going, oh, yeah, I can do this. But stepping into the world of post-college, trying to prepare yourself for that is a daunting thing for anybody. And so I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about today, before we left, that this advice for LinkedIn is not the only advice they can get, not the only place they can get it, because you work at the Career Center here at the University of Illinois, especially for University of Illinois students, that there is so much resources there. And before I ask you the question, I want to remind everybody that if you go back in our archive, back in May 14th of this year, 2024, episode 112, we actually did a episode that was highlighting the Career Center and a lot of the aspects of that. So be sure to check that out. Go listen to it. But for this conversation right now, if you would just share a little bit briefly about kind of what kind of resources students can find at the Career Center, kind of what your wheelhouse is there, because I know LinkedIn is not what you do at the Career Center. It's adjacent. But what are the things that you do there that students can really lean into and get and use as a resource?
Man, at the Career Center, there's some variety of different services. I'm talking about you got opportunities to come in and get your LinkedIn reviewed, right? We have drop-ins on a consistent basis from Monday to Friday, 10 to 5 at any time, right? You could also do a variety of interview simulations. I actually oversee the mock interview program where it gives the students the opportunity, right, to create interview simulations based on real life internships, jobs experiences, and a variety of different opportunities, grad schools that you want to create an interview simulation. So it's an hour, and I think it's a great opportunity for students to build that. And most importantly, I think students are underestimating the opportunity of getting their salary negotiations and offers to us, right, and help them go over that, right? We give them tactics on not only how to negotiate, but we could go over offers for our seniors and our graduate students who are walking out with this amazing offer and knowing how to navigate with the intro of the workforce. I just know one thing, in the Career Center, we continue to increase in career empowerment needs, and career is also life. And so we want to welcome anyone who needs the opportunity to talk a little bit, talk out their dreams, talk out their pathways, because there's a lot of things to think about moving forward to the dream career you want to, especially if you got to go out of home or get out of the States, or even to expand that brand, right? There's a lot of different things that we could love to go over at the Career Center with those students.
So if someone's listening and they say, okay, I want to check that out, that place, where are you at? Where can it be found physically and also online? But where can they find the Career Center and get connected?
Man, we're in the heart of campus on 715 South Wright Street. Alma's pointing at us, okay? Yeah, we're right by Coco Maron, so don't forget to bring me some frozen yogurt, okay? We are here looking for you all. I have a physical office, but I myself, you can also find us on our website to schedule a one-on-one career coach appointments and get the opportunity to match with amazing coaches just like myself and others. So I want them to reach out. Our Career Center website also has many additional resources, requesting workshops, you name it. So please explore your way.
And one thing I just learned about recently through conversation at McKinley is that at the Union there's a free photo lab for headshots, which is huge. We're talking about the LinkedIn profile. Your name, your picture, and go get a professional shot.
It was crazy too. If you think about it, that workshop was a product of an event that came from our career fairs and the needs of those students. And because they just recently wanting to make this service continuous, I'm glad we got to partner up with the union to get these labs open up. Our hours do change throughout each semester, but as of right now, we got hours from 1 to 3 on Thursdays and Wednesdays as well for students to go out to the union and get their headshots. So I always recommend going to the website to see those pending hours.
And it's in room 335 in Union. Just if you're listening, you want to check that out. But be prepared that when you do it, you may have to wait because it's a popular thing because it's huge. I mean, it is huge to have that professional headshot done and have that peace of mind on that. So that's a major aspect. Like I said, I just learned about it not too long ago, so I'm geeking out on it anyway. But yeah, and if you want to check out the website for the Career Center, the Career Center. We will have it on our bio that you can just click on it and go, and you can find more information there. We've just barely scratched the surface of what the Career Center does, even in this conversation, and combined with the episode back in May. There's so many resources there for students. Just really check it out. But Jardari, thank you so much for speaking with us today. We fill that time quick. It goes by fast. I know we could speak for a couple of hours and you could fill in more information.
Oh, endless stories.
So that's why I say come check it out. Come talk to you at the building. Get online and talk to you because there's so much more that can be said about these topics and about preparing. But Jardari, thank you so much for being a part of this program today.
Oh, Matt, thank you for keeping me warm. Appreciate it.